Hey, everybody. Kevin here with Pursuing Pixels, and welcome back to another edition of Save It for the Cast. And as always, I'm going to toss the ball over to John, Randall, and I in just a few minutes to talk some more kind of video game-focused stuff. This is another one of those kind of more collage-y episodes where there's kind of just a handful of snippets of conversations that we had from recent recording. Again, we talked quite a bit of video game stuff, a lot of Castlevania, specifically Symphony of the Night, and how pretty much none of us have ever played it. I think maybe Randall has a little bit, but definitely none of us have ever beaten it, I don't think. Although I shouldn't speak for Randall 100%. But yeah, John being a huge Castlevania fan, I think we were all kind of shocked, especially being a fan of the more modern Castlevania games, not so much the original NES ones. But yeah, he kind of started talking about some of the Game Boy Advance games and that collection that came out on Nintendo Switch and how he was chipping away at some of those after Randall talked about some of the games that he snagged at the Portland Retro Expo, one of them being, I think, Circle of the Moon, Order of Ecclesia. No, I think it was Circle of the Moon. One of the Game Boy Advance. I think one of those is actually a DS game. But anyways, there's too many Castlevania games to keep track of. But anyways, yeah, we get into plenty of video game chit-chat, some music chit-chat as well. But yeah, kind of all over the map, but we'll be getting to that in just a few minutes. But as always, I got to talk about a couple of the games that I've been playing lately. And the main two games that I've been leaning into as of late, other than my resolution game, Luigi's Mansion, and actually Demon Throttle, which I'm still going to wait till we get a chance to because I know Randall picked up Demon Throttle as well. So I'm like, might as well wait till we can dig into that game properly. But I've been having quite a bit of fun with that one, and I've been playing it quite a bit, but it's got me on a little bit of that retro kick. Where I guess I before I get to the two games that I've mainly been playing, it's kind of got me like I hooked up my Switch properly since I've started playing Luigi's Mansion. Like I was otherwise just playing kind of handheld and just playing random like pick up and play arcade games. So I was like, okay, I got to play Luigi's Mansion on a proper TV. It just didn't feel right for whatever reason. So I hooked up my dock and everything, got it all hooked up to the TV in my temporary setup. And I started playing this game called Odallus, The Dark Call. And I've played a little bit of it before. It's from the same developer that made this other game called Onikin. I don't believe I've talked about either of these games on the podcast, but they're both like very much like 8-bit NES inspired. Maybe it's doing a little bit more than what the NES could do as far as limitations go, but it does stick to kind of like a 4:3 or kind of like a standard full screen ratio as opposed to widescreen. But it really just kind of leans in. They're almost, especially Odallus, even a little bit more so than Onikin, which again, Odallus The Dark Call is the one I've been playing lately. And I just, for whatever reason, couldn't pull myself away from this game. Like I just kept playing, like, oh, let me just play a quick level, get a feel. That's just how I typically play games on Switch when I'm just bouncing around. Like, oh, let me just play a level of this. Oh, that seems pretty cool. Maybe I'll make a video for this later, or whatever I might do with it, or maybe I'd never end up coming back to it. But for whatever reason, I just kept chipping away. Like I kept getting either a game over or just continuing on or beating a level and just like, okay, let me play a little bit more. And just something about like the level, like it kind of has a Castlevania, more like Super Castlevania or Super Castlevania 4 or whatever it's called, where or Ghosts and Goblins or any of those games that have like that overworld map where there's like, you can clearly see there's like, 8 or 9 points that you're traveling along. There's just kind of like a dotted line connecting them, and those are the stages. But there's a few branching paths here in Odallus, or at least it seems like there are. Like on the second or third stage, I found like some kind of secret exit, and it seemed like it led me to a different area. But it's very retro, like in the sense that it's really rigid on the controls. Like it almost feels like there's no dead zone on the controller. So like if you even tap slightly up or down, like I'm constantly like ducking or turning around, like doing a 180 on accident, like not meaning to. But at the same time, I don't know, just something about the retro, like all the sound effects, like it's just so authentic feeling, and so like the levels are really well crafted. Jeez, I couldn't get that out there. But yeah, I just really like the level design. There's nothing particularly fancy about it, but it's just, as far as the gameplay goes, it's just kind of like a running around, hack and slash, exploring. Like each stage just has like a little bit of exploration, almost like a little bit like Oliha, which I talked about a long time ago and really loved that game on the podcast. So I shouldn't make that strong of a comparison because Odallus is nowhere near as good as Oliha. But at the same time, it does have like, when games are too open-ended, it just leaves me like I'm exploring too much, and it kind of, even in a game like Yoshi's Island, and I know I've talked about that on the podcast, like those levels are so huge sometimes. I'm just like, man, I just kind of want to beat this level and move on to the next one, where like, at least in the first 3 stages or so of Odallus, it's like, oh man, I'm kind of encouraged to explore around because I know this level is kind of contained in a, a certain sense of scope or whatever. I don't know. I've really been enjoying playing that game. I don't know if and when I'll get back to it, although I do want to make a video for it because I did really enjoy the gameplay in spite of the jank. But anyways, the two main games that I've been spending quite a bit of time with lately are a couple games that we got sent to us from some of our pals on Steam Curator. One of them being a game that we talked about previously on the podcast, the Pico 8 version called Cards with Personalities. And that's a game that John and I talked about a long time ago, and it's kind of like a deck build, or not kind of, it is a deck building sort of RPG. It sort of has like a roguelike feel to it where you're like starting up a new run after you lose, but it's not so much. I don't think there's a ton of like buffs that you're getting along the way. It is just kind of leaning into like the cards that you get and that you're dealt and whatever, but it's a really unique and interesting game. There's a really vast array of cards, at least from the surface that I've scratched. Quite a few new cards that have been added since the Pico 8 version. And I think Sebastian Lind, who's the developer and is a good pal of ours, or at least, over the internet and stuff, we've had a lot of interactions with him over the years, and really just a lovely individual on top of making just some really, really awesome games, most of which are like playable right in your browser on Pico 8. You can also support him and purchase them as well, including the Cards with Personalities version. And again, the Pico 8 version, that is. And again, he did update that Pico 8 version to like reflect some of the new mechanics. I don't think he was able to add every single thing that's in this full like Steam or, full commercial release version of the game, but it still has a lot of that Pico 8 personality in the sense that it's just got the 2-button inputs. Just like the way the pixels, like it's developed, I think, in the Love 2D engine, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong there. But I just think it really, Sebastian was really able to capture that like Pico 8 charm and energy, but really like leaning into just adding a little more juice to the game, sort of like how Punk Cake's able to do that in their own Sugar Engine with their games. Like a lot of them still have that Pico 8 flavor, which both Benjamin and Remy have a strong background from over at Punk Cake. Like they developed heavily on the Pico 8 fantasy console. So it's really cool to see these developers like injecting a lot of that personality into their commercial releases and whatnot. And Cards with Personalities has just got a lot going on. There's a ton of different cards that all have like, it's got a really slick UI where there's like kind of like certain cards will give you money, certain cards will give you attack points, and you just kind of like whatever cards you draw on any given hand or any given turn, you play those cards. But most cards have like a secondary ability or something, sort of like a buff, I guess. So that's sort of what gives it like a roguelike feel. And you're either like buying new cards from the like home row, essentially, of cards, whatever you want to call them. But there's like a enemy row or whatever that you can either like attack. If they're enemy cards, you can attack them. If they're regular cards, you can buy them. If you kill the enemy, it adds it to your deck, or maybe it just eliminates it. I can't remember exactly how it works, but you're sort of like adding cards. But then sometimes a card's secondary ability might be, remove a card from the graveyard, which is like the discard pile essentially, and add it to your hand, or draw 2 new cards, or, there's a huge number of different abilities. So I'm really looking forward to kind of like learning, just being able to look at because all the characters have like such cool, or all the cards and characters on the cards have such, pun intended, have such great like charm and personality to them. Like there's just so much cool stuff going on in this game. I know Sebastian's already made a couple updates, patches, like I think added a new boss into the game. So that's sort of how it feels roguelike as well. Like you kind of like move along down the line and like have to beat this boss. Okay, now then this boss has new abilities, move on to the next one. I'm still on the first boss, but yeah, really, really impressed with this package. And yeah, Sebastian was kind enough to send a copy of that over our way. And I'm hoping that, I know, again, John and I talked about the Pico 8 version, so I'm really hoping that him and I can maybe dig into, and Randall as well, can dig into this proper version, because it really feels like a game that we'd all really enjoy. I know I'm really enjoying it. And yeah, the other game that I've been sinking a decent amount of time into as well is PUTRID Shot Ultra, which I just love the name of. And it's another game that was sent our way from the developer over on Steam Curator, which again, I've just been kind of like promoting that we have a Steam Curator page here and there, and every now and then we've been getting some games sent our way. This one's actually only $3 otherwise, so it's like, man, I probably would have just picked this up had I known about it otherwise. But again, this one wouldn't have even been on my radar if it didn't. I might have seen it on Twitter at some point in time and like retweeted it or say, hey, this looks cool, made a comment, but like I probably wouldn't have known that it came out or whatever. But yeah, this one actually is kind of more of a true roguelike. You pick from like one of any number of like secondary abilities, and it's kind of like a run and gun single screen arcade. And this one has a lot of that Pico 8 flavor as well, although definitely not running in the Pico 8 engine. But you have a double jump, and it's just like a side-scrolling platformer in like these single-screen rooms that, waves of enemies will spawn, and then as you clear a wave of enemies, and you have like your regular gun, you have kind of like a reload time after you take a certain number of shots, and then every wave of enemies you get like a buff, and then after you clear, I think it's 3 waves, then that's like kind of clearing a level or a stage, and then you get like a kind of a buff upgrade or like a new secondary attack, or kind of like a third attack where it's like every 5 shots you take, then like a flaming axe will start spinning around you. There's like a ton of different abilities, and you start clearing quite a few stages, and they take a decent amount of time. Like a run, I ended up dying like halfway through the second world, and it was like probably a 15-20 minute run, and the second world really started adding some new mechanics. I still almost felt like I was trying to figure out what was going on. Like there were like these switches on the wall. Like the first world was definitely just like waves of enemies, mow them down. You can shoot left or right or up. I don't think you can shoot down, but maybe you can if you're in midair. And again, you have a double jump, you have a dodge roll where you're invulnerable for a period of time. And again, it's all about kind of like just managing your reload time, your secondary weapons. You also have that secondary attack that you pick from at the start. So, and that like gets recharged every like 8 or I forget what it is, but every certain number of shots you land on enemies, then it recharges that secondary attack. So it's all just about like juggling what abilities you have. You have quite a bit of health, so like unlike a lot of other roguelikes where it's so punishing where you just die, one hit death or something like that, this is more like you got 10 HP, you can even upgrade that along the way. There's health drops from enemies on a relatively frequent basis. So at first I was like, oh, is this game a little too easy? And then as soon as I got to the second zone, I was like, oh my God. Number one, like I said, I don't even 100% know what's going on, but it is like significantly more difficult. But I really was just loving the chip tunes, the music, just absolutely phenomenal. The gameplay just feels, I don't know, just so crisp and tight. Really found myself getting hooked into this one hard. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say about it. It's just like a really tight run and gun roguelike platformer, and again for only $3. We did get this one sent our way just to for transparency's sake, but definitely one that I wouldn't hesitate for even a split second to snag, and might even do so otherwise on a different platform or something if it ever makes its way to Switch, or how I tend to lean towards the console games and whatnot. But yeah, I think I've done enough rambling at this point, more than I even expected. But yeah, I'm gonna kick it over to John, Randall, and I for some collage style chit chat, and yeah, we'll catch you next week, and until then, take care. I did forget they've put there's 2 Castlevania collections out, right, on the Switch. Like there's like the NES and like
right.
There's like maybe even some of the Game Boy
games,
the
retro
and then,
one, and then the GBA one. Yeah.
But none of them have Symphony of the Night, right?
None of them have Symphony of the Night.
No,
Symphony of the Night's never been ported.
Which is like, why is
That's
Symphony of the
crazy.
Night allergic to Nintendo? Did Sony have a hand in publishing that at some point? What's the
I
deal?
have no idea.
Well, you know what? I don't think
but it's on Xbox.
I was going to say, I had it on Xbox. Yeah, on my old account, not on my new one.
Mm-hmm.
Like
cheddar cheese
deal?
spelled properly.
That
is weird, especially because they would just make a fucking $1 million, like, or whatever. They would just rake it in with that game, whatever they did.
Yeah,
like it's kind of like that game is like
for the
Resident
first
Evil
time
4
on
status.
a Nintendo system.
Right. Exactly. They could charge $25 for it.
Yeah.
They could charge whatever they wanted. Like people would pay for it. $40. They'd be like, "Oh, that worth it.
Honestly, I would buy it. Never played it.
I've never played it really either. I bought it on Xbox, but I only ever played like the first little bit.
John has not played Symphony of the Night?
I've not played it. It's never been available.
That's actually,
shit.
That almost didn't even register.
I tried downloading a ROM of it for PlayStation, and it's some absurd, the ROM is some absurd size. It's like, I don't know if the website, because every SNES ROM was I don't know, this is a couple
They're
megabytes.
Kilobytes.
Yeah.
And then for whatever reason, it was this is 30 gigs. And I'm like, is this ransomware? what is this? Like, this can't be the actual game.
It's like, this needs to fit on a CD. Like, what are you doing here?
Right.
A single CD.
Yeah,
like, not even like Final Fantasy VII level.
Right.
So who knows?
Right.
I've just never felt the need to like dig any deeper and actually get a ROM of it or emulate it. So I've just been like, well, I don't know. Alucard jumps. He has something. He has a sword.
I've never had the best computers, but I've never had any luck emulating anything beyond like the Super Nintendo Genesis era. Like once you get to PS1, 64, like it's always a shit show for me.
Yeah.
Oh my god. No,
it's true.
I emulated Pokemon Black like because that was still when they were doing like different releases between Japan and America. And like it had come out in Japan, and like I tried running it on my laptop at the time, and it was honestly running like 1 frame per second. And like,
that was a DS game. Right?
Yeah, it was a DS, and like I remember like just like being like, I want to see what the first 30 seconds of this game are like.
That's amazing.
I caught like whatever like the first two Pokemon I could, and I'm like, I'll just wait. There's no reason for me to play this.
Man.
In Japanese, well, I can't.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
Did they have it translated? Or
no, it was not. It was just they just cracked that puppy open and dumped the ROM as it.
Yeah.
Practically the last sprite art Pokemon game, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, could have been.
You might be right. Yeah. I've been kind of itching to play a game like Pokemon lately. Like not necessarily Pokemon, but just where you can kind of leisurely stroll your way through the adventure and like
Scarlet and Violet are coming out, and Arceus.
Oh shit!
Arceus was the beta version of that game, so
those are out in like 10 days, right?
I know, it's so.
Oh geez,
18th or something. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that caught me.
It is that time of year, isn't it? Yeah.
It's Christmas time, baby. Pokemon time.
Nintendo has to crank out a Pokemon game every year.
It's kind of nuts. It's kind of nuts.
That's not. It's not good. It's not.
No.
It can't be good for the series. It can't be good for Game Freak, except it's the Pokemon company now. Whatever. Like,
it can't be good for the employees. Yeah,
right.
It's just
like
all around.
It's not good for the people who have way too high expectations for Pokemon as a series. Like
right. You know, that's kind of funny though. That is like the one Nintendo series. Like I know they change a lot of stuff from iteration to iteration, but it is like the one series that they just kind of like churn them out. Where like, you know, with Strikers, like we got to change a bunch of stuff, or like they got to add new things to it. They kind of, I know new stuff gets added, but it does. Which is why I'm pumped.
I'm kind of pumped for Scarlet Violet because like I loved Arceus. Arceus was great.
What I watched of you playing it, I was like, man, I want to be in this world and like adventure in it. Even if I don't love the Pokemon formula, like I want to see what else this world has to offer.
Yeah, the real open-ended experience that way.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
I am stuck on y'all not playing Symphony of the Night. There's got to be another way.
I mean, it was always $1 million for resale because it was like same with Final Fantasy VII. And then,
I don't think I own it.
So yeah, when the time that I got a PS2, it was cost prohibitive for me to get a used version of it, and then I never owned any other system other than Nintendo ones.
Right.
So
yeah. Shoot.
Yeah, I only ever played the first like little chunk on 360 back when I downloaded it.
I gotta fucking play Nier Automata because that's the first.
Oh yeah,
like that's a game that like a similar thing. I was just like, I guess I'm not playing this.
Right. Yeah.
That's what
just
Elden
like I know
Ring
I can't.
Was.
I know I can't dedicate myself to this and
fair.
And I feel like that's another one that will, because you more than you definitely get sucked into games, John. Like when you're like pulled in, like you're like you see them through to the end. Where I'm just like, okay, I got a little taste. I can leave it there. But I feel like Nier Automata, like if it gets the hooks in you, I could see you just plowing through that in like 2 or 3 sittings. I don't know how long it is, but
like I really want to play it like with Lauren around because I feel like she would enjoy the story.
Sure. Oh yeah.
And the bits I played, for sure, I think she would. And it's like a little more action packed to just kind of watch.
Yeah. Things
happen in the in between too.
Ugh.
And the worlds are just so cool. That game is really cool. That makes me want to hook it up. I haven't had a console really other than just playing my Switch.
Nothing wrong with that.
But I've otherwise been just playing on my PC, which has been kind of nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
a bunch of people have been sending us games on either Itch.io or Steam lately. Like, it seems like lately, if I even like retweet a game and just go or leave a comment like, "Oh, this game looks sweet," somebody's like, "Hey, you want us to send you a copy?" And if they do legitimately look sweet, like we just got this game called like PUTRID Shot Ultra, which is just like a nice run and gun arcade game, single screen arcade.
Great name.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's great. Another one's called Shoot Trip Die, which I also love the name of. Kind of same thing, like kind of like a, I don't know, just roguelike shooter.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a twin stick shooter, except you can only shoot left and right, though, which is sort of interesting. Like you can't even shoot up or down, like just left or right. I don't know. Definitely some cool games. There was like this bundle on Itch.io, which actually one of the guys made, maybe even more than one, but one of them made a game for the Game Jam, the Pursuing Pixels Jam.
Yeah.
And so he reached out. He's like, "Hey, we put together this like click or treat Halloween bundle of like spooky themed games." He's like, "You have any interest in checking any of them out?" Like one of the games was made by the Baba Is You developer.
Oh, geez.
It's just called like the Plumber Thing. It's like a Mario looking puzzle platformer. Like it's even like like just looks like this weird like janky version of Mario. It's sort of weird. We didn't get that one sent to us, but like Jonah sent this like weird like fishing game to us. Like it's just some really cool looking games, so I'm excited to check those out.
That's sweet.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, some cool stuff. Definitely plenty of cool stuff in the Steam if you guys are intrigued in any time. Obviously, we have plenty of games to talk about otherwise too, but
always
definitely been getting some cool stuff plopping in.
Gotta finish my game. Gotta finish the game I said I was gonna finish.
Yeah,
first.
I gotta play some of my game, Luigi's Mansion, and I gotta play some Demon Throttle. That'll probably be what I dig into next, because that first level was
I'll pop that guy
sweet.
in. I can commit to popping that guy in.
No rush though. I mean, I can do it anytime.
Yeah.
I'll play some more. I'm really, really into it. I'm really glad I got it, even after all the hassle.
Nice.
And not getting the instruction manual. I'm a little bummed about that, but whatever, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But at least glad that it wasn't like missing it and supposed to have it. Like now that I know that, like, okay, I got a version that wasn't supposed to have it in there, I can just, whatever, it is what it is.
Right.
If I knew it was like missing it, I'd be like, oh, I got to track down a proper copy. Like I was already thinking, I'm going to go back to Best Buy, buy another copy, return my old one. And then I was like, okay, I'm glad I learned that it just doesn't come with it.
And only way you were going to have it otherwise, because it's not digital.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I can't, even though I feel like it might down the line, but I don't know.
That's not what I said.
I don't know. I got super excited when I was over at my brother's the other day. He was a diehard fan of that Super Mario 35. When it was out, like the Tetris 99.
Yeah.
Super Mario 35.
I was not a diehard fan of that, but that's very interesting.
He like loved it, and he still had it on his system, and like we booted it up, like he was just like looking at his stats, and it like the whole thing like still like functions as if it still works, and then but when you click like play game, it just goes like, thanks for your continued interest in this software, not available anymore, or something along those lines. But I was like, that's weird that it like still functions like up to the point of just like not letting you start a game. Like just at least just take it down.
Right.
Don't tease me.
That's stupid.
Because we were like, oh shit, is this gonna work? Is this gonna work?
That sucks like, so Nintendo. Bad.
I know. That was a pretty cool version. It's definitely, I still think Pac-Man 99 is like the best of those. Yeah. 99.
Tetris
those
is really
versions
good
of the
too,
games.
but
Tetris is great.
good. Yeah.
But Pac-Man, I got pretty hooked on that.
Yeah, it was good.
A brief minute when it came out. Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, what's everybody else got going on for the rest of the week here?
I'm going to save this file before it corrupts. That's what I got going on first off.
Definitely a good call.
I swear I bought 5 games, and I'm not remembering at least one of those games that I bought.
I definitely know that feeling. Even still to this day, I'm like, do I own this game or not?
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah,
it's really bad.
I had to make a list and take pictures of my collection to like ensure that I didn't rebuy stuff.
Yeah. Oh, and I did. We'll have to save this maybe for save it for the cast another time. But I did stop by Flipside Records. Since it's been so long. They moved locations. I was a little bit nervous.
Wait,
what? Like when I met up with my friend Josh.
They're not in Clawson anymore?
They're not. I think they're in Berkeley now. So still in the same kind of general area.
Yeah.
It's like roughly the same size store, but a little bit smaller.
Okay.
So maybe they just downsized a little bit.
Sure.
But still like had most of the same stuff. I kind of forgot that they have like all like random like, you know, like audio gear and equipment and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And like
tons
of
just
like movies
stuff.
And stuff like that. Yeah. And just like, I don't know. I just kind of forgot. I actually picked up the Kinks album, Lola versus the Power Man versus the Money Go Round, which I've been looking for forever on vinyl. And I guess it got reissued for their 50th anniversary.
Nice.
Or the 50th anniversary of the album. So I was like, oh man, I wasn't planning on actually buying anything. I was just like, I just want to go check it out, see what they're doing these days since they moved. Because when I went to grab a bite to eat with my buddy Josh, like the first time when we hung out and then met up with the rest of the guys, like him and I met up beforehand, and we went to actually like the place we went out to eat was in the strip mall or whatever where Flipside was, and it was gone. And I was like, no. I was like, Flipside's gone, and he was like, no.
Wait,
no,
where did you guys go to
moved.
eat over there? Did you go to the brewery place, or did you go to the sushi place?
I think it used to be a brewery, and it's a new place now. I forget what he said it was called. They kind of had like because it definitely, the building felt very much like a brewery. Like you could tell, like, yeah, there used to be a brewery. Like as soon as you said that, I was like, oh yeah, this used to be a brewery.
The corner place, basically.
Yeah, it was right on the corner.
Yeah.
Yep. I forget what it was called. They kind of had like a gear, like buzzsaw kind of logo or something with like a monkey in it. Or
okay.
It was like something paw or something. I'll have to double check and look, but he did say it was new, and I think he said it replaced the brewery that was there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was cool. It was cool being in the same stomping grounds, and I don't know.
Yeah.
And yeah, Flipside, they nowhere near the game selection they used to have. Like they had some Intellivision stuff, but I didn't see any turbo graphics. I didn't see.
I'm sure. Yeah.
They had like just, you know how they had like those boxes under like the glass cases or whatever. Like they only had like one little sleeve of those of NES games. Like they used to have like 4 or 5. So definitely downsized what they had available. So part of me is like, I wonder if they would take some of my stuff off my hands if they give me a decent price for it.
I bet they would.
Yeah. We'll see. My buddy Josh was like, Flipside's got to be some kind of front, man. he's like, there's no way they're doing enough business over there. I was like, they sell like everything, man. But
they do. It was never busy in there, though. I'll give them that.
Yeah. And they do every single receipt by like handwritten, like as if you're like at a diner, like on like a ticket, guest ticket. Yep. So it is like, okay, they're like, everything they do is definitely like off the books.
Yep. Well, that's true.
Yeah. So it's like, okay. And it does always smell like patchouli or peyote or whatever the heck.
Yeah, it does.
It's some kind of incense. So
yeah.
I'm just now noticing my brow ridge, which is not something I would normally notice, but with a shaved head. I can see that,
like
where
just the way the light.
Yeah, where the light's hitting it, I was like, I didn't think I had a prominent brow ridge, but apparently I do. Well, that's a new thing to be self-conscious about.
Every time I see anything on like a camera, I'm just like, forget it.
What are you gonna do?
I'm so extra self-conscious too. When I was like the other day, I was like editing one. I can't remember if it was just this last episode or the previous one, but I was editing one of the episodes of our podcast, and I kept like trying to get this like one like click sound out that was like right before either one of us was just saying like, hey, or no, or something like that, or yeah, or something like that. And like my sister was doing something upstairs, and she was like, why do you keep listening to that part over and over again? And I was like, I'm just editing. I was like, I'm just trying. She's like, I didn't know if you were recording or what you were doing.
Welcome to the creative process.
I know. I was just like, oh my God. I think it was like Randall like chiming in going like, yeah. And I just kept like trying to trim it like a little closer without it like cutting off abruptly.
That's what I get for chirping.
I don't know if I mentioned this.
It was pretty great.
When I was listening to when like the new Emperor X album just came out, I was like, the last song on that album I think is an unbelievable song. So like,
I still need to listen to that. I'm glad you brought this up.
Yeah, I was just listening to it over like on repeat and like over and over again. And like Lauren came home after like I think like she just thought it was a long song, and then like minutes and like probably like after it played its like 10th time since she got home, like as soon as it started up again, she just like yelled from another room, again.
Again,
a damn fucking good song. So yeah,
again.
Nice. And then should we close with the Portland Retro? Expo, because I was just looking at that. I was like, forgot that was on the docket. I was like, because that's a good opener as well.
Otherwise, I don't have very much to talk about.
Yeah, I was hoping if it works for you guys, I don't think I'll be able to make it for Friday or Saturday. I don't know if you got my text a little bit ago, but I think I could maybe make it for Sunday and Monday. I got to do a little babysitting on Saturday, and then I got a doctor's appointment on Thursday and Friday.
Yeah, I think that should be fine.
But if that works for you guys, that should work for me.
Definitely works for us.
Been anxiously just like, man, I got to get some of that stuff out of the practice space. I know it's not the end of the world, but it's just like, I did put quite a bit of shit in there, so I want to
don't worry about
get some of the stuff out of there.
Like Mikey was caught off guard, but it was like he was laughing. Like he walked in and he's like, "Oh my god!" And Mikey, I was, but like he was also the same boat. He's like, "It's just the two of us. It's not like we fucking need like Can you like we can't like pace back and forth from and he's stationary." Like,
yeah, so that's kind of what I was thinking. I was like in the back of my head, I was like, well, everything is on John's side, and he sort of saw the state of things. So
yeah, and I was there's no issues.
I mean, obviously, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna be like, I need to get extension cord just because the PA system. Like I want to. Man, we are running the most duct taped together like audio setup in that space. It is embarrassing. Like,
well, maybe I can give you guys a hand with that too if we can do a little jamming or something.
Yeah, that'd be fun. But yeah,
I wonder.
Feel free to. We've got nothing going on Sunday, I think, and then Sunday and Monday would be great. This is like the ideal time.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, because that'll help me get at least some of like the extraneous stuff out of there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'll be able to get everything in one swoop, but hopefully I'll be able to.
Don't bother.
Get some stuff, but obviously I'll keep paying rent until whenever. And then, like I said before, and I don't know if I told this to Mikey, but like obviously if like there's any point where like, hey, we're moving in with some other people, like I'll come get my stuff ASAP. So
yeah,
just keep me posted on whatever is going on that end.
We're both so lazy. Like we just don't want to move ever. Like it's more like we're like, even with like that nightmare that parking is there now. Like it's still, we're just like, but everything's
still more
set
convenient
up.
than moving everything. Yeah. Shoot, what was I gonna say? Oh, but you guys jammed a little bit.
Yeah, we were like, trying to figure out, like we were playing some ideas, and then at the same time, like just kind of being like, what do we want to do, and like how do we want to do it, and like it's so hard when we have like no songs that we can just run through. And it's like, all right, let's just, I guess, hammer out this idea until we get sick of it because we're not making headway on it.
Yeah.
Ugh.
It's weird when I think about like what it was like to like work on songs and like write them. Cause even like the stuff, like when I like any of the songs that I've kind of like come up with and put on Instagram or whatever, that's just kind of like, I feel like it's like, they're like barely enough to be, I'm just like, that's enough to call it a full song. I'm just kind of like, keep it short and sweet. Like, don't even overthink it. Like, I just can't imagine like, it's like weird to think that we used to like write songs by just like improv jamming for like hours and then just going, oh, yeah, some of that was kind of cool. Let's use it.
But it was so sick. Like,
oh, it was amazing.
Like, honestly, like
magic.
I can't think of any other like creative, like artistic or like endeavor that felt natural and like was so like, which is why I'm so like, in my head, like I would like, it would be so nice to have like a like third member that could like help, make it a little bit easier to like and flexibility on writing stuff. And I'm like, I just don't know anyone that like I would want. Like Mikey and I have the like years of chemistry,
right?
Where it's like, we kind of know what we want, and it's like, well, there's no one else like that we would want to do like this genre. Like we would kind of have to like play shows and then just meet a whole new group of people who would make music that we want to play with. And then I'm like, God, this is so fucking hard to like do.
It's hard, man. It's hard to like just plop in with like people who you haven't played with, especially if there are people who have played together before. Like when I was in in the band with my cousin like years and years ago before I moved to Chicago. Like him and the drummer had played in bands together before. Mm-hmm. So like I always felt like, I don't know, I just felt like not like I liked the music we made, but I always just felt like kind of out of the groove. Like, I don't know, it always felt like a little unnatural for me. I don't know if they felt that way, but
yeah,
I always felt like I was like playing outside of my comfort zone, and not in a bad way, but not in a good way either, if that makes sense.
God, even like when like we started Boss Fight and like I was coming in, I was like, well, I know that like Kevin and Steve have like this like rapport already, and like no, like they've been making music together for years, and I like, I don't know why, but I like was like, and I'm assuming that like Mikey's just known them for years.
Yeah, it's so funny. Like literally met Mikey like briefly in like the morning after like a New Year's party or something.
Yeah.
Or some kind of sleepover we had. Hey, what's going on, Randall?
Yo.
Ayo.
Yo.
Been a minute. Been a hot minute.
It has been a minute.
Because I was thinking, like, if we do Turtles, Cozy, NBA, and then loop back around and do Mario Kart, Splatoon, Panzer into Portland, then it rhymes.
Is that too many things?
Yeah, no, I was just thinking I could shave some of this stuff off
I'm not going to talk that much about Cozy Grove.
And like, I kind of don't have a ton to say about any of these. Yeah, they're more like kind of just like conversational stuff on my end. But we can easily trim some stuff out.
I mean, we'll see. Yeah, we'll say, oh, this won't take very long, an hour.
I know,
later.
we do that. That's
always
that
how it goes.
Times.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.